at approximately 11:58 hours, 9/11 received a phone call for shots fired. A male shot himself on the front lawn. That address is 76 Wyoming Court in Syosset. That subject has been identified as Joseph DeLucia, DeLucia. He's a junior. He was 59 years of age. He was born 4/12/1965 and lived at that address. Officers found him with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to his chest. He was pronounced at the scene. Officers then went into the house to clear the house and make sure if anybody else was injured. Inside, as the commissioner said, in the rear den area, 4 individuals were found with multiple gunshot wounds that were expired. Those victims have now been identified as the siblings and niece of the subject, Joseph. They are Joanne Kearns, Kearns. She's 69 years old. She lived in Tampa, Florida. Frank DeLucia, DeLucia, 64 years old. He was from Durham, North Carolina. Tina Hammond, HAMMOND, 64, from East Patchogue. And her daughter, Victoria Hammond, 30 years old, also from East Patchogue. When officers arrived and found those victims, they immediately called EMS. EMS came, pronounced those individuals at the scene. All of these siblings were the children of Joseph DeLucia Sr. and Teresa DeLucia. Teresa passed away on August 19th of this year, and her funeral was the 23rd. 3 days later, this incident occurred. As well as many of you have already reported, the perception of Joseph Jr. was that he was being cut out of the will and was going to be displaced without a place to go. He did have past mental issues, psychological issues that were reported to us that we still have not confirmed. Because of that perception, he decided that day to get a loaded Mossberg shotgun, 12 gauge, approached them in the rear area of the house, and from the kitchen fired 12 shots, striking all 4 of them multiple times. He then took the weapon, went out onto the front lawn, was shouting indiscriminately about what had happened. A neighbor heard him doing this, called 911, and that was our 911 caller. He then self-inflicted shot to the chest and killed himself. As the commissioner said, if anybody has somebody that they think has issues, they should be calling us. We're not saying this incident could have been averted, but maybe it could have. This is the weapon he used. It's a pump-action shotgun. It was recovered at the scene. It has no alterations to make it illegal. This is a legal possessed shotgun. But if he was reported to be mentally unstable, this may be illegal for him to possess. Does that make sense? Okay. When this happened, they arrived to meet the realtor, as you all are aware of. They brought Starbucks. They were assembled in the den area. The brother had stayed behind. There were 13 overall shots, 12 to the victims, 1 to the subject. There's only 1 prior call to this house for a well check of him. That person had called in 2022. He was not displaying any signs of anything that we would take action to take him against his will, that he was dangerous to himself or others at that time. But that is the only call. He has only 1 prior arrest for a DW impaired. That was 1983. And that's all we have on him. Does anybody have any questions?
Commissioner, you said something about if you hear gunshots, don't call police, it will be too late. Can you just explain that?
So, unconfirmed, but neighbors have reported that he has made statements in the past that if you hear gunshots, don't bother calling 911, it's going to be too late.
Oh, like he's going to be suicidal.
That's correct.
Can you give us any background on the 59-year-old?
On the subject?
Yes.
So he was an auto mechanic. He worked for a local car dealership. He was kind of a hoarder. Spent all his money on his tools and stuff. The house is pretty much hoarded, packed with tools and stuff involved in motor mechanics. He was living there his entire life, never lived on his own. So you can see the mindset where his world was now changing at 59 years old, and he was panicking.
Are there any surviving family members, or did he kill all the siblings?
There are surviving members, sons of the sisters and such.
Have they spoken to police?
We have spoken to them. Apparently they were notified prior to us by members of the news media. We would ask if you please check with us before contacting family members in such a horrific incident. But we have spoken to all family members at this point.
And
Sir.
those were all the siblings, I'm sorry, all the siblings were killed in the family. There's no surviving.
The entire family is now gone.
You mentioned the weapon was a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun, kind of a low, it doesn't have a high capacity, it's like 3 or 5 shots, right?
Mhm.
So you said there were 13 shots.
Correct.
So he had time to reload multiple times and stop.
You notice on the side it has a holder to hold extra rounds on it, an extra carrier. I don't know whatever he had in his pockets at the time as well. But once he's shot each person at least one time, then you can reload and reshoot.
Do you have a gun permit?
No. He has no handgun permit.
And your advice for people, I mean, you mentioned if you see something, say something, if people have control, they should call police. But there was that wellness check somebody did call in 2022, it seemed like that was too early. And when they made the phone call, when the incident happened, that may have been too late. So what should people know? When can they?
You call any time. We'll come every time and investigate. As the commissioner said, there was rumors in the neighborhood of him making statements. Make us aware of that. We keep track on everybody in the community. We know the community. So if I know Joseph and I know Joseph's having issues, I'll start initiating some process of a red flag law and get that shotgun away from him. But this didn't happen in this case. So some people are afraid to call 911. What are we going to do? We can, let us look into it. We're not, we're here to help. So.
You had mentioned some of the statements that were made were kind of like heads up, this is a situation that needs police attention. What exactly were those? Like, I'm going to kill him if they try to, I'm not leaving, do you have any examples?
Yeah,
of exactly
Commissioner.
So all those statements, as I said, are unconfirmed, right? But we do know what multiple neighbors have said. Don't become a victim. Speak up. This is 2024. We will protect you. We will protect your identity. But if you're not going to come and help us, let us help you. Tell us what you hear. Tell us what you see. And don't become the victim, and we will protect you.
Just a quick question. I think, Captain, you had said there was the perception that he was being cut out of the will. Do we know, was he being cut out of the will?
According to surviving relatives, that's not accurate. He was being taken care of.
He was being taken care of.
But he would have to relocate.
And he didn't want to relocate because that was weird. And
Okay.
you said the gun was legally registered to whom?
We're still looking.
NYPD update there after a man not only kills himself, but his entire family as well. You're watching live now from Fox.